I've really kind of put myself in a bit of a situation with these two assignments that I've done for 1101 and 1010. These are both assignments that I've never done before, and it's the first time I've piloted them. Here in 1101, we're doing these how-to assignments. Oh, and by the way, I'm sorry I don't have a fun shirt this week. My wife gave me a Goonies shirt, and I'm very proud of it, so I'll try to show that one off soon. In any case, the how-to is based upon the material I've delivered for the technical writing courses over the past few years. So it's not exactly, completely unfamiliar territory for me, but packaging it for 1101 has been pretty interesting. Teaching a whole course on technical writing is a bit of a different monster. So I'm kind of thinking about trying to sort of go ahead and wrap it up, put a nice little pretty bow on it, and move on to something else. Just because I have a feeling that this type of thing could kind of stagnate if we stay on it for too long. And one thing I've been really wanting to do is move on to more research-oriented stuff, because let me tell you, you back me into a corner talking about research, I can gab about that all day, just never shut up about it. And you don't know if you guys have noticed this about me or not. I'm pretty good at talking till I'm blue in the face. I do have one last big important point to make with the how-to writing. I'm going to go ahead and create the Dropbox for this assignment. It's not due until the 21st. I'm still in the middle of grading. So if you turn in early, I might look at it, a little, early. My poor brain, y'all. We are in the middle of midterms. So I would very much like to have some time to finish this grading for the eco-narrative stuff. And in order to help me do that, buy some time for myself, we're not going to do the team session today. And I'm not going to tag a discussion with this video. Okay, so this will give you guys some time to kind of get a breather, maybe recoup for your midterm exams or whatever is coming soon. I've also had some people asking about the midterm and final exam in this class. Some people having trouble with it. I don't know if I've responded to those yet. I don't think I have. So if you haven't heard from me yet, I am coming. I'm on my way. So I'll be helping you out with that soon. It's not exactly a huge rush because we do have till the end of the semester to finish that up. Anyway, for God's sake. So the final bit of advice for the how-to. This is something that's come up in the class discussions that we've been going through. There is a difference between the basic how-to writing and the how-to guide and the more complex how-to writing. Now, the funny thing is, and I may have talked about this just a little bit before, but I'll just go ahead and repeat it again because it's an interesting point. The other day in class, I had the question of, could you really write a 6-page how-to guide on how to paint your nails? Because for me, I wasn't necessarily so certain that that would work, right? Painting your nails seems to me to be a pretty simple endeavor. But one of my students was very quick to correct me on this point and say, no, I could actually write 6 pages on painting my fingernails. Of course, these are students who have been, studying cosmetology and stuff like that. So the point here is I want to dive into a little bit more of the basic how-to versus the more complex how-to and how we could kind of use that for our own advantage. I've been talking with students about some of the sample how-tos, and this difference has come out more and more and more. And I think this is kind of an interesting conversation about expansion as well. One of the things that I pointed out to students a lot is the fact that, there's a lot of detail that hides behind the scenes. With the eco-narratives, I had a student talking about seeing, and I know this is colorful, but a crackhead. Now, it's not exactly the most positive description here, but in seeing this crackhead or this drug addict on the street, I pointed out to them that, how did you know they were a drug addict? How did you know that that's what this person was facing? They made the assumption and they simply labeled this person in their writing as a drug addict. And I came to them and I said, it's not very descriptive to just label somebody that. You have to kind of show it to me. This is one of the biggest cliches in creative writing courses is when you say show, don't tell. But think about it for a minute. If somebody's on drugs, what are some things that kind of betray that? Do they have particular body movements? Are they saying something, right? Do they have problems in their speech? Are they talking about it? Are they doing drugs in that moment? What led you to make these assumptions about this person? That's the thing that you have to kind of dig into the description with, right? Well, believe it or not, the same kind of sort of opening of detail can apply to these how-tos, because something that seems very, very simple to you might not be so simple to the people who are reading your paper. So here's some examples. A whole bunch of students came into my class late the other day. And when I asked, what are you writing your how-to on? Obviously, they haven't given much thought to it yet, which is, I mean, it's not that long ago that I was a student, so I'm not too upset about it. But they were like, how to be late to school. Now, they were obviously trying to be facetious, right? But I actually took this point and ran with it. We made a sample how-to guide on the board about how to be late for school, right? So we talked about stopping at Starbucks, which one of them did. What would you order, right? What would be the longest thing to prepare at Starbucks? Do you want to go to Starbucks? Is there a different restaurant that you would visit in order to increase your chances of being late? Will you keep hitting the snooze button on your alarm like I do every morning, and I'm always right? So, but we also got into something interesting here. When dealing with a how-to like that, you can go off into these subsections that don't necessarily reflect directly back on the subject matter itself. And what we decided is we made a list of really, really good excuses for being late. This could have basically branched off into its whole other thing, a collection of viable excuses that could help you escape blame or at least reduce the impact of being late. Some of the things like I suggested one time, I told I was late to a very important meeting, and I was saving a turtle. Like I was on the road and there was this turtle in the road and it was trying to help it and it kept trying to bite me. True story. Anytime you'd say, sorry, I'm late, I was trying to rescue a turtle, people are going to be a lot less inclined to be angry at you because you were saving a turtle, right? So we made this list of viable excuses. This is where we can actually expand out this stuff, right? So we can get more and more and more pages, more and more material to kind of contribute to this guide in a way that does so kind of in an offhand way. Another one, I need to thank this class for coming up with some of these ideas too. Another one was interesting, was how to break your iPhone, because someone in the class recently broke their iPhone. And I stopped them and I was like, well, let's think about this for a minute. Why would you want to break your iPhone? When they sort of thought about it, we came to the conclusion you might want to break your iPhone as an excuse to buy a new one. Now, most of these students were teenagers, so they're like, because mommy and daddy will buy me a new one. And I was like, right. But in any case, as silly and as, irritating as that is, that's still a viable goal for this how to break your phone. So we started listing all these things, obviously dropping it, but most people have protective cases on their phone, right? So is dropping it going to be enough? So we started coming up with other ways, like take it out of the case and drop it. And I was like, what if you're trying to convince your parents to buy you a new phone and you just have a broken phone inside of your case? Don't you think that's going to be kind of suspicious? Like they might not be as viable, might not be as likely to buy you a nice new phone if they think you destroyed it on purpose. So you got to make this convincing, right? So we decided maybe you leave it on the roof of your car. Maybe you run it over. Maybe we had all these different things. Somebody said, well, what about asking your sibling to do it? And I was like, well, that's a problem too, because siblings have a tendency to do what? They snitch, right? There's a good chance your sibling. And this actually took us off into a whole other area. As we're talking about methods of breaking your phone, think about the positives and the negatives in this context. This method is good because of yada, yada, yada. This method is bad because of this and this and this. Here's the risks you run by breaking your phone in this manner. Do you see how we took something rather simplistic and we were able to add those details in order to kind of expand it, right? Now, the several things I wanted to point out to you guys, and this is, again, I'm thanking the face-to-face 1101 course because they really helped me kind of clarify a lot of this stuff. The how-to guide does not necessarily need to be completely serious. It can be tongue-in-cheek, right? None of my high schoolers had ever heard the term tongue-in-cheek. I was like, really? In any case, tongue-in-cheek means sarcastic, right? It's being facetious. It's not taking itself very seriously. So there is some room with these how-to guides to have some fun with it and have some commentary and add sections that aren't necessarily like absolutely 100% pertinent to the topic at hand, especially if it's something like that supplementary information that could be important for someone who's trying to accomplish the task. So all this stuff is important. So as you're writing these how-to guides, as you're putting your info mapping in, as you are expanding out, if you get stuck, you might need to think of it in terms of what's another section I could put in here? What could I inject in order to get more material out and to kind of expand upon this idea that I've arrived upon? So, like I said, I'm not doing a discussion this week. We're not doing the team session this week because I've just got way too much stuff to do. So we'll do double points for the team session next week. I will get the Dropbox up with a nice rubric telling you everything that I'm looking for. I think that's everything I'm going to do today. I really need to just do some wall staring before my next class. I hope things are going great. Hope you guys have a great weekend. We're going to go into some new stuff next week as we, wrap up the how-to guide. I'm thinking about making you guys write poetry because I just want you to suffer a bit, right? And I want to suffer a bit too. It's been a long time since I read some bad poetry. I think you guys could give me some pretty good bad poetry. What do you think? I'm going to bandy that about a bit. Y'all have a good weekend.